There's an old adage about life imitating art, imitating life, and while being stuck in quarantine, I don't know why, but I felt as though I had to explore the intricacies of that particular relationship. This week we are talking about Contagion on the Everyman Movie Review. Right at the top here, I'd like to give a shout out to everyone who is staying at home. Thank you. Good news is states look like they are loosening up. It looks like we might be able to head back to somewhat normal life very soon. We were able to flatten the curve because everybody followed direction. So thank you if you were one of the ones who is staying at home and staying safe. And maybe a special thank you to those of you who are on the front lines of this particular battle, whether it was in a grocery store stocking shelves or as a nurse or a doctor in an ER. We are now flattening the curve thanks to the efforts of everyone, those staying at home and those who went out because they had to keep the rest of us stocked. So thank you all. Contagion, this week's movie, is a 2011 movie where they don't take those kind of steps. The fearful consequences, I guess, are the result. Now, in the movie Contagion, the disease is moving a lot faster than COVID-19 moved, so I suppose that is a factor in all of this discussion. But before we dive in too deeply with the movie, let's go ahead and get the pleasantries out of the way, shall we? Contagion was directed by Steven Soderbergh. It was written by Scott Z. Burns. It has a star-studded cast, including Gwyneth Paltrow, Matt Damon, Laurence Fishburne, John Hawkes, Jude Law, Marion Cotillard, Kate Winslet, Elliot Gould, Bryan Cranston, Chin Han, Sanaa Lathan, and some special guest appearances by people like Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who has been on the news a lot recently. So Contagion isn't exactly like what we're going through now, but the similarities are uncanny. It is one part telling the story of disease and how people deal with it, and the other part a detective story of figuring out how it happened. We start out on day 3, and we meet Beth, and she's coming home to her husband and her children from a business trip to Hong Kong. She doesn't feel very well, but she chalks it up to jet lag, and 2 days later, she's dead. That same day, her young son comes home from school not feeling well, and he dies as well. And from there, we start to follow the little tenures of the web out and see where Beth had impacted on her way. We see her in Chicago. We see how Chicago led to another city. We see outbreaks all over the world, and it all started in Hong Kong. We also get to see the other side of the fight, the detective story that's led by Kate Winslet, who goes to Minnesota where Beth is living, and she tries to understand who Beth came in contact with and do what we now know is called contact tracing. And that's when we know that there's an infected person, we try to go back and grab everyone who might have come in contact with them and then isolate them to try and let them go through the disease or find out that they're not infected, and then finally we can kill the virus, because once it has done its dirty work, then it can't be spread anymore. This version of the virus, funny enough, started in bats as well. It is part bat DNA, part pig DNA, and as they say in the movie, a very special bat met a very special pig, and now we are all the worse for it. And it was interesting to be at home in quarantine while I was checking out this film, because just the way that I see people reacting in the film is kind of what you see out on the streets today. And when we see people not doing the right thing in the film, we can compare that to people not doing the right thing on the streets today. Now, as I said before, the disease in Contagion moved a little faster than the disease in real life, COVID-19. And because of that, the incubation period was only 2 to 5 days, and it actually either killed or you survived, and that was well known within another 5 or days after that or so. But it was also interesting to kind of watch the movie with some of the knowledge I've picked up during this quarantine period, like an R0. What is an R0? An R0 is the rate at which someone who is infected will infect other people. COVID has about a 2 or 3 R0, and the disease in the movie had a 2 R0, and then it became a 4 R0, and then it mutated and got a 20 or something R0, something ridiculous. And 1/4 of the world's population was forecasted to become infected, and it had a kill rate of 1/4 to 30%, which is unbelievable. It's way lower than COVID, and the infection rate is way lower as well. And of course, this isn't one of those real life versus movies kind of thing. So I'm not going to talk about some of the other things, like how they rushed a vaccine out and they got it out in, I don't know, 2 months. That can't really happen in real life. And one of the people who is developing the vaccine actually gives it to herself after the very first success. So they kill a lot of monkeys, and then one monkey survives, and that's the one she gives herself. And, it turns out that it works. But that's not how it would ever work in real life. No one is as heroic as that doctor who is written in a script. But it's also funny to look back, because I'm pretty sure I did see this movie in 2011 when it came out at the beginning, and see some terms that were so foreign to me then but are now just, hey, I know that. Are not being one of them. Social distancing being another. And hearing Laurence Fishburne's character talk to Dr. Sanjay Gupta on a fictional version of his show and say, social distancing is the key here. Keep 10 feet apart. Wash your hands regularly. If you see symptoms, if you have symptoms, stay home. Cough or sneeze into your elbow. It's like all things that we've actually been talking about over the last few weeks, and it's playing out right there in a fictionalized version. Now, I don't know what Matt Damon's agent did to make sure that he never had to wear a mask in this movie, but, when it's one of the things, it kind of opens with Beth, who Matt Damon is married to Beth. And so it's assumed, of course, that he's infected when she comes home. And especially after their son dies, he must be infected. But we learn very early on that he's immune. And it's not something that's been talked about a lot with COVID in kind of the news, but there will always naturally be people who are immune. Immune systems are diverse, and some diseases just won't impact people at all. But because he's immune, once he comes out of quarantine, he then never has to wear a mask again, right? He doesn't have to worry about it. His young daughter, who he assumes would be immune as well, the doctors inform him, maybe not, because half of her immune system is you, half is her mother. There's no telling what dominant trait may come out in this virus. So while the daughter has to walk around with a mask at all times, he gets to just walk around free as he wants. No gloves, no mask. He doesn't allow people in the house. He enforces social distancing, not for himself, but for his daughter. And we get to see how that kind of takes a toll on not just an individual, but families and the way that they interact with each other. And I would say that would be unique, except for we're all experiencing that right now. Overall, though, I've had some hesitancy in watching some of the documentaries that have been out. I know that there's one that everyone is talking about on Netflix about COVID-19 specifically, and I haven't really wanted to watch it because I think that in the end we're going to find out a lot more than any one person or any one documentary crew knows about it right now. So I've been trying to avoid it and just say, you know what, I don't want to hear half the story. We'll wait till it's over, and then maybe we'll get the 2011 version Contagion of COVID-19. In any event, whether it's fiction or documentary, I think it would be better just to wait until I find out more. I trust when I hear doctors talking about it. I trust, in some respects, the government when they give me information. I do trust my governor. I do trust my mayor. And I trust Dr. Fauci to at least speak truth when he speaks for the president. But I don't know that I can have that same trust in documentary filmmakers. So I'm going to hold off on seeing that. And I don't want to say it's a good replacement, but it certainly is a replacement. I kind of came out of it thinking like, oh, well, it could be worse, right? Like seeing the way people react, the overreaction. Matt Damon at some point sees people breaking in houses and the police are not responding because 911's so overwhelmed. And he finds a suicide victim. There's just a lot of things that go on that we haven't seen a lot of with this particular virus in real life. So I think in a way it's a safe way to try to explore those feelings and where you are mentally, while also kind of being entertained and seeing that the overarching message of survival is really important, but surviving together is the most important thing. And I think there's one other thing to note from this. They do talk about the vaccine and how it has to come out slowly because they can only make so much of it at a time. And they actually do a national lottery, so that people with certain birthdays get the vaccine on different days, which means they do 365 days of a lottery. And of course, the goal with this is building up herd immunity, because as more people get the vaccine, it's less likely to spread, and therefore the people who aren't getting it until later, well, they're still protected by that herd immunity. I don't imagine that's how we're going to do it when we finally get a vaccine. Also, real life is not as stressful as fiction because COVID isn't killing 25% of the people who get it, and the incubation period isn't 5 days. So there's a lot of difference. This movie basically spans the 30 days. I think the last date update we get is 45 days or 60 days from when it first starts to vaccine, which is never going to happen in any real life situation. But obviously, if the disease was the one from Contagion, which I think they call MEV1, if it did have that kind of impact, maybe we could push it out like that. And maybe within a year, within 60 days we'd have it, and within a year everyone would be vaccinated. I know that it's not going to be that stressful when it comes in real life, but I do hope they do avoid the lottery style thing. The daughter in the movie has her birthday one day after mine, and when it came up, I was just like, oh man. So like she is one day 174, and I think they made a comment about it could be worse. You know, like whatever days around it were at 220, so like could be worse. I don't want to be one of those people that gets 365. You know, it's a fair way to do it. I'll give them that. You know, everybody has a birthday and we just draw it and show up and get your vaccine. But man, it would be rough to wait that year while everybody else was getting vaccinated and just wonder if you're going to catch the thing that 25% of people are dying from. But again, and I can't stress this enough, this is not COVID. I mean, it is an MEV. Basically, it's a coronavirus. That's how they classify it. It's just like SARS, and that's how they talk about it in the movie. But COVID has a much lower mortality rate. It has a much lower infection rate as well. So it takes longer to show symptoms, which sucks, but it does, kill less people. It doesn't infect as many people if you have it. You can't infect as many people around you. So again, I think this is a real safe way to kind of take in your feelings and see, I don't know, like watch something that helps you look inside and just see how you're feeling about all of this that's going around in the world. And I think this is a great way to do it. So I do recommend Contagion. I don't think that there's any warnings per se. Like there's not too much violence. I think it's rated PG-13, so it's not going to be that bad. It's fine for anyone to watch. But I know that there are certain types of people who I would not want to watch this with. One, because they're going to be question askers. Don't watch this with any question askers, because they're going to have a lot of questions that are answered later, but the whole point is getting the answer, right? So, and two, people who freak out kind of unnecessarily, because this is also the kind of movie that once you see it and you start thinking about your current situation, if you can't put your logic hat on and it's all emotion, it's gonna be trouble. With those two things in mind, I highly recommend Contagion. I watched it on HBO Now, so I know it's available there for free, although it is going away later this month. So you're gonna wanna make sure you check it out soon. It's probably available on other streaming services. I'll put links in the show notes down below, so go check that out. If you have an extra 90, 100 minutes, it's not a long movie and it moves very quickly. So it's definitely the kind of thing where if you think you're gonna enjoy it, it'll help pass the time as we try to wind up these last few days or weeks of quarantine. Find some downtime and go check out Contagion today. So there you have it, yet another episode of the Everyman Movie Review in the books. Right at the top here, I want to say thank you, as I always do, to my patrons. I could not do this without you guys. Thank you so much for all the moral support, the messages that you've sent. When you see that you're watching the videos early, when I provide them early, you're watching all the crazy content that doesn't make it anywhere else. That's a huge thing for me. I know it makes me feel like I'm not wasting my time. Like there is a purpose behind everything that I'm doing. So thank you for all your support, including the monetary support. And if you want to be one of the chosen few who gets all of that behind the scenes material, all you have to do is go on over to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek. For as little as $1 a month, you get entry level, you get most of the stuff just at that level. And then, of course, you can donate more and you get access to more and more stuff. I'm wrapping up my self-help book. Okay, I'm starting my self-help book. Everybody will be mentioned in the forward of that. It's all kinds of bonuses. You can find more details right there at patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek. And finally, my home on the web is taking shape. RobertNCheek.com has come back to life. It's only a few pages and it's a work in progress, but you'll be able to start getting information there. You can find links to the videos, links to the books, links to everything that I'm doing, music, for whatever that's worth. All of those things are available right there at RobertNCheek.com. And in a few weeks, you'll be able to sign up for a mailing list where I'll stay in touch with you and let you know about the bigger stuff I have coming along. We're kicking around some really big projects, maybe even the #1 movie in the country. We'll see. But you're going to know first if you go to RobertNCheek.com and sign up. And of course, I'm available on social media for free all the time. You get access to what's going on inside here, as terrifying as that may be. Go look for me at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. Maybe that's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, Tumblr, Snapchat, everywhere at Robert N. Cheek. The only thing I don't have at this point is an OnlyFans, and don't push me because I might go and do it. But there's super funny content. There's insights into what's going on behind the scenes of my life. Not as much as you get at the Patreon, but hey, it's for free and it's right there on social media. So check it out at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. And if you can't get enough of me because, why would you? Make sure that you're checking out the OD Anthem podcast. Every Tuesday, I sit down with my buddy Corey and we do a new podcast, brand new, every single week for 314 consecutive weeks at this point. We talk about news, we talk about politics, we talk about sports, the stories of the day. Anything is on the table. You never know what we're going to get into. We tell stories from the past. We just hit our 6-year anniversary. So there's a lot of content for you to check out when you're bored, and a new episode every single Tuesday. Go on over to otheanthem.com. You can find the entire catalog of back episodes. You can follow us on social media at otheanthem. That's available everywhere. And make sure you join us on Sundays or Mondays when we do our live recording. You can be part of the show. If you're following on social media or at youtube.com/otheanthem, you'll be able to join in right there. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, you get new updates, not just of these videos, but of all the stuff that I'm working on. I got a lot going on right now, and you're not going to want to miss a second of it. But of course, Everyman Movie Review is also available in podcast form. You can find that at anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. You'll be able to check out the new episodes right there at the same time as they're available on YouTube, with a few bonuses and extras only for the podcast listeners. I'll be back again in just a few days with yet another episode, so keep a lookout for that. But until then, please stay safe and stay inside. Take care of yourself and each other. Have a great week, everybody.